season when we're hoisting the trophy, right? And that's the World Championship trophy, right? Am I right, Cardinals fans? All right, let me sit down here, and we'll also get a mic for Mr. Raines as well. Rob Raines, famous baseball writer. Is it the Sports Hall of Fame? Hall of Fame writer right here, STL Sports page, covers the Cardinals. If you don't follow STL Sports page, that's on you, man, because they provide great Cardinals coverage. He's got some great spring training coverage. And man, what a time to be here in Florida. Great weather. We even have a cold front coming. All right, there's the news angle. I'm Mike Trim, anchor of the NBC Morning Show here in West Palm Beach, joined by Carson and Rob. So let's hand the mics off right here. This one's yours.
This one's mine? That's yours. Awesome. Oh, he's got his own. He's got the special one. He's got his logo on it and everything.
Hey, for all the people who are from St. Louis, don't you like it when they say the cold front's coming in, it's going to be 70 tomorrow? Just so it happens to be snowing in St. Louis, right? So we don't care about that.
Yeah.
Hey, appreciate everybody being here today. Before we get started, how many people have been with us in the past at some of these events? So, all right, a lot of you returning people. We really appreciate that very much. Appreciate our sponsorship here with the Homewood Suites. Before we go any farther and we start doing some Q&As with Carson, we're going to take some questions from the audience as well in a few minutes. So we'll be thinking up some questions that we may not ask or that Carson might never have been asked in the past, okay, by us. So put him on the spot. He's a smart guy. He'll be able to answer it. I want to introduce my wife, Sally Raines, over here in the red. She's in front of the fireplace. She's kind of the brains of this operation, both internally as well as with Rainbows for Kids, our charity in St. Louis. We're raising money today for Rainbows for Kids and the Lymphoma and Leukemia Society here in Palm Beach County. So that's what all your money is going for with the silent auction. So we appreciate everybody's support. So before we get started with your guys' questions, just Carson, I guess a little bit about how spring training has gone at this point. Does this seem to you like it does to me that we've been here for about 2 months already?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I got down here probably the beginning of February, so I've been here for a while, and you know, I've been working on my tan. I don't know if you guys have been.
That's a farmer tan.
Yeah, I'm working on my farmer's tan right here. No, but I mean, it's been good so far. We're having a lot of fun, and you know, putting all the pieces together to get ready for the season.
So we'll get back to the season and the season ahead and spring training, but you know, the good folks, the good Cardinals fans, they want to know a little more about you. We were talking about where you're from originally, maybe who you grew up as a fan of. So where are you from, and who was your baseball team growing up?
So I'm originally from Portland, Oregon, the other coast. Yeah, right.
Fans of Portland in the audience.
Yeah, Portland. Lived there for about 17, 18 years, and then right now I'm living in St. Louis, so that's where I make home. And growing up, listen everybody, I was a Cubs fan. Listen, time out.
Nope, nobody in here is going to put that on Twitter.
Born in Chicago, so I had Cubs fans, but then my family, half of my... Love you too.
She's a Cubs fan.
Half of my family moved to St. Louis, so we had the Cubs rivalry going. But now that I got drafted by the Cardinals, they've all become Cardinal fans. There's no more Cubs in that thing.
It's weird how much is forgiven once you don the Cardinals jersey.
Exactly, right? Look at this, yeah.
Let's kind of flash forward to, you know, we've heard so much about you in the minor leagues, and you probably maybe even get tired of the phrase, oh, heir apparent to Yadier Molina, but you are playing behind a future Hall of Famer, and let's be honest, a Cardinal legend that will stand for time. What does that feel like? I mean, put that into words. You probably had to answer this question so many times. What's it like playing with Yadier Molina? And also, for Coach Mike Matheny, he wasn't a bad Cardinals catcher of his own.
I mean, it's special, you know, just to see all the hard work that guys put in, and then Mike, and you know, there's a rich history of catchers in the Cardinal organization, and being able to be a part of that it's really special, and to learn from him, and I mean, he said what 3 more years. I'm excited for those 3 years because that's more I get to pick his brain and continue to learn and develop, because I'm 23 years old. I've still got a lot to learn. So it's you know, it's been great. He's been awesome with me and helping me out, answering all the questions that I've had. So it's been a lot of fun.
Sure. And what people may not know too is you didn't play as a catcher in high school. I mean, you had caught before earlier in your Little League days, but you were a third baseman.
I was a third baseman.
You were drafted as a third baseman and played that in the first couple of years in the minor leagues.
Yeah, so I drafted in 2012. I was a third baseman, along with Piscotti and Wisdom and all those guys. And then 2 years in, they came to me, hey, what do you think about being a catcher? I'm like, I mean, maybe. I don't know. I've never got before. I mean, when I was a little kid. So, and talked with my family and talked with the coaches, and then they're like, hey, it's a great opportunity. So why not? I'm all about opportunities and continuing to develop and learn. And I took it and ran with it.
His second year as a catcher, he won the minor league Gold Glove Award. I'd say he learned pretty well. The other thing that you may not know about him, speaking of learning, he was drafted out of high school by the Cardinals, turned down a scholarship to the University of Oregon to play baseball. But, here's the but, sometime here in about 10 days, 2 weeks, he's going to take his last final exam and receive his degree in economics from Oregon State University. And you think playing baseball was hard? Try this out. Every class he took, the whole time that he's been playing baseball, spring training, off season, winter, every time, he did it online. Online classes, everything.
That sounds easy. It's not easy. I'm taking some online courses, and you have to block off some time and miss some things as well.
Oh well, yeah. I told my parents that if I signed a professional contract, then I would continue my education, and we negotiated that in the contract and all those kinds of things, and I'm 10 days away, so it's a little surreal. I'm like, holy crap, I'm almost done.
You could go for a master's,
No, no chance. I'm over this.
I mean, it lends to the position. The catcher is a very cerebral position. You have to just know every nuance of the whole field. So everybody would like to kind of go home and tell maybe a little inside baseball story. So you're catching these guys, you're catching the pitchers. Is there anybody that's harder to catch? I mean, is Wainwright's curveball really throw you off? Is there anybody harder to catch than somebody else? Or what have you noticed this spring that's maybe jumped out at you?
I mean, the more you catch guys, the more familiar you're with them. And I mean, you guys were all at the game today, right? So, Wayno, how did he look?
Oh,
pretty good.
He's looking great.
Yeah, he looks pretty good, right? I mean, we were talking, and he's feeling good. His breaking ball is. I mean, Uncle Charlie, you know what it's coming.
Curveball.
Yeah. So it's there's so much you can learn, and just talking to these guys. I mean, Carlos, he's got electric stuff, and I mean, he's one of those guys that you gotta, hey, let's keep it right here, and that's something that he's worked on, but. He's electric. I mean, we got a great staff, and I mean, I'm excited for this year. Oh, yeah.
And you've caught a lot of the good young pitchers that come up in the farm system as well. You and Alex Reyes go back several years, and you've seen Weaver and some of those other guys. So I mean, the future. People may not know everybody's names yet, but there's some kids coming.
Well, there's a lot of guys. I mean, there's a lot of guys, and that's what the Cardinals are so good at. They draft these guys and they develop them, and we got a ton of guys coming up. So it's that next man up.
Now that you mention it, we will get to some questions here in the crowd momentarily. Now that you mention that, kind of known as the Cardinal way, bringing up your own players through the farm system. You saw DeYoung just signed a big contract extension. What is that like, donning the Cardinals jersey when you get to spring training? What does that feel like to be part of that system, and is it different from what you've heard from other players?
Oh, I mean, you look at the history of the Cardinals and all the players that come through and all the coaches and a lot of guys that are players, they eventually stick around, like Willie McGee and Ozzie, and all those guys come back, and those guys are here to help us out. And I mean, it's special because a funny story is in the minor leagues, you get, when I first signed, I went to Johnson City and I had one bird on my chest. You got to wear one bird, right? So you had to earn that second bird, right? You have to earn that second bird. So you have to work your way up. So it's not like you get like half a bird and then you keep going. But you get one bird.
You get a wing.
Yeah, right. You get a wing. But you get one bird and you got to work your way up to earn that second bird.
They don't take the half a bird away if you make an error.
No, they take it away.
No pass balls or the head comes off.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to scan the crowd here for some questions. And hey, first up, I'll come right back there. Pardon me. I'll give you the mic so you can hear you.
moved you to catcher from third base, but why? I mean, was your third base, and there was a crowd at third base, and they saw your arm, they saw abilities, and what was it that motivated the Cardinals to put you as a catcher?
Too many balls went to too many legs. I was waiting for the ball to come right here, right? No, they said it was a good opportunity. Good opportunity to, I mean, they were, you know, they planned that stuff ahead, and they were like, hey, this is a great opportunity for you to continue and kind of propel your career. Because we had a lot of guys at third base, and they, you know, that was something that they wanted me to do. And it was technically 51% my vote and 49% their vote. So I ultimately had the last say.
I'll take a question from this side as I'm over here right now. Anybody would like to ask Mr. Kelly a question? Let me get over to you. I'm gonna play a new game. Tell me where you're from as a Cardinals fan before your question.
I'm from Columbia, Missouri. So my question is about mound visits. That's going to be something that comes up. And I've noticed this past week there's some confusion about when that happens. And so have you guys worked out something, particularly with the opposing player on second base?
Oh yeah, so apparently we get 6 mound visits, and then if we go out a 7th time, they have to pull the guy right away. So we're in the process of figuring out how to switch signs without going out there, because usually we go out there to switch signs. I mean, some catchers go out there and like, hey, we're gonna throw a fastball here. They go back, and they go back, hey, we're gonna throw a curveball here, and then like that. So that's what's slowing the game down. So that's their idea of speeding it up.
Do you think pace of play is an issue as a player?
I mean, no. I mean, it's an art. I think of it as an art. So I mean, if you see a guy go back and forth, that's kind of ridiculous. But I mean, just keep it going. It's like golf.
I'm gonna take over here, sir, and then I'll come back to you.
Part of that rule, though, is if you go between batters.
If you go between batters, it doesn't count as a visit, right?
So we can go talk to him when a guy comes into the game, but then after that, you can't. So when, like, if a new pitcher comes in, we can meet him on the mound and talk to him, but then when we go back, then we can't go back again.
Okay, thank you.
When we actually make a pitch and change, that doesn't count as a
Pitching change doesn't count, no.
All right.
Now, one more thing you have to keep track of during the game, but I've been out there 3 times.
You kind of let Mike do that.
Get paid the big bucks, right? Here we go. Where are you from?
Yes, I'm from Hazelwood, Missouri, St. Louis area. I got really 2 short questions. One is, what was your favorite player as you were growing up? I know you're a Chicago fan, but anyway, what was your favorite player? And second of all, how did your parents affect your baseball career, if they did even?
So me and my brother always wanted to be Derek Jeter in the backyard. So we were always playing Little League, and we were always trying to hit a ball in the hole to do the jump Jeter thing. So Jeter was probably one of our guys. And then my parents they did everything for me. They gave me the opportunity to go play, and that was something. My dad was coaching me until I was maybe 10. He was like, "You're on your own now. Hey, do it yourself." No, but he instilled that work ethic in me and the discipline of it. So that's kind of what propelled me. And then when I got to a certain age, he kind of let me go. And I still get the, hey, what are you doing text every once in a while. Like, you look terrible out there today. You're like, thanks, I appreciate that.
That's what fathers are there for.
And your favorite player?
They're Jeter.
Okay, gotcha.
Jeter.
Here's one more thing I'll say about Carson. His brother Parker was actually drafted by the Cardinals out of high school as well. Unlike Carson, decided to go to college, but he's going to be drafted. He's a pitcher, and he's going to be drafted again this upcoming June draft. He's a junior now in college, so the Cardinals might have 2 members of the Kelly family coming up.
Yeah, you never know. I'm not putting the C on my jersey. No, make him put the P. Yeah, he's going to put P. His name's Parker. Make him put the P on the jersey.
And Rob's wrote a few books on baseball. That might be a good storyline.
Yeah,
they both play for the same team eventually. You have to write a book about that one.
Carson's in taking flight. He's already been in one.
Right, yeah. Over here, any questions? I'll scan the crowd, or if there's any over there. I have plenty of questions. We can. Here, I'll go back to
Does he have a girlfriend? I know the answer to that question.
I do have a girlfriend.
Hey. Here we go with the question. Where are you from? And your question.
Darden Prairie, Missouri. And I've got a question for Rob. Being from the media, there's been a lot of conversation, so to speak, in the sports media in St. Louis about what the Cardinals have done, what the Cardinals haven't done. Do you think it's fair, some of the criticism about we don't have a closer, we don't have another big bat, that kind of thing?
I think it's fair as long as it's not cheap shots. I mean, when I draw the line, sometimes when I think people are being overly critical in a condescending kind of way. I mean, I think the analysis and opinions are fine, but I think when you try to criticize people and say, they don't know what they're doing or they're not doing their job or something like that, I think that goes a little bit too far. I mean, I think, the people in charge, they're pretty smart people. I mean, they know that, the easiest thing for anybody in the world to do is spend somebody else's money. I mean, if you see all these free agents out there, you say, well, go sign this guy, go sign this guy. Well, it's not that simple. And so I think, whether they make the right decisions or the wrong decisions, that's for us to analyze and critique. But they usually have more information about the decisions that they're making than we do. Now, I'm not saying they're always right, because sometimes people are wrong. And this has been a really interesting winter as far as, moves and non-moves by teams and free agents and things like that. So, I always kind of fall on the side of giving the benefit of the doubt to the people in charge until we see if it's working or not.
Great answer. I have a follow-up question, actually. Follow-up question for Carson. We as Cardinals fans, let's be honest, we're spoiled with the championships, with the playoff appearances, and when you don't hit it for a year or two, that's when people start to kind of ask questions. You're inside that locker room, you're inside the clubhouse. Is there a feeling that, hey, let's get back on track this year? Is there a new, type of invigoration within the team? How does that feel this year?
Being in the locker room those last 2 years, it just sucks. You just kind of man, anytime you don't win and get in the playoffs, and I was lucky. I got to be in the playoffs almost every year coming through the minor league system, and that's, kudos to the Cardinals and how we've been developed. And getting up there, it sucked. It really did. But now in spring training, I feel like we've got our mojo back. I kind of feel, we got good vibes. Ozuna, I don't know if you guys know Ozuna, but he keeps it really light, and we're having a lot of fun. And that's what it's a game. At the end of the day, it's a game, and you like to have fun. Yes, there's emphasis on winning, but when you're having fun, that's when you win ball games.
Nice. I deserve a round of applause. It's always good to be optimistic for the season. All right, we'll take this question and we'll play the Where Are You From? And your question.
Princeton, New Jersey. Go Matt Bowman. Question, Carson, about pitch selection and calling pitches. What percentage do you call? How much comes out of the dugout? And is it different when Yachty's behind the plate versus you?
So, when I first converted, they wanted me to call the entire game. As catchers, we call every single pitch. We never, when we look to the dugout, that's a whole different story, but they might throw an emphasis on something, but that's how we prepare. The eye prepares that way. We sit and watch video and take all the information and formulate a game plan. At 1 o'clock on a 7 o'clock game, we're there 6 hours before the game preparing for that night. And taking all that information is how we formulate what we're going to do. And we play teams over and over again, so you got to find ways to not fall in trends. So there's a ton of emphasis on calling the game, and that's something you have to learn as being a Cardinal catcher coming up through the system.
It's kind of a test every night, isn't it?
Yeah, basically. It really is. We sit there for an hour and a half to just go through the lineup, go through who's on the bench, who's going to, righty-lefty matchups. If this guy comes in, we're facing this guy, who should be pitching, what counts we should throw in, should we pitch backwards, should we go, there's so many different things. I could sit here all day and talk about it, because it's different. A lot of it depends on the situation. The situation of the game dictates how you're going to call games. And if you get in a tight situation, we formulate our game plan on, if this guy comes up with the bases loaded and we got 2 outs, what are we going to do? And you go to that game plan. And you got to know what he has that day. And if maybe he's got a good, a good slider, then and it's not working that day, then we got to go to something else. I mean, it's a lot of feel and a lot of understanding what's going on in the game.
I kind of love the honesty from Carson, right? I mean, he's answering these questions, nailing them. Here we go. Where are you from and your question?
I'm Gary Grant and my wife Renee here. We're from St. Louis area, and we've come in because of Rainbow Club. We love it, and we want to ask both of you guys up there. As we go to spring training every year, we get interested in the new guys, and because when you go home, they say, "Well, what have you learned?" You know, because you're not sure what spring training's going to bring, and so many are great heroes later on. But because we came up one year, with who holds cake? You know, but what have you two spotted this year that could be future stars and are not on the regular top 8?
Great question. You want to start? Or you want me to start?
Well, the kid I think that's had a really impressive spring is one of the players they got from Oakland for Stephen Piscotty, and I don't know how you pronounce his first name. Yairo
Nunez.
I know the Munoz part. I'm asking you
just call
first
him
name.
Munoz.
Oh, you just call him.
We just call him Munoz. Yairo.
So sometime we'll have to figure out how to pronounce his first name. But he's had a really good camp, I think, so far, and it's opened a lot of eyes. You know, I think everybody will realize when they came into this camp, most of the positions, barring injuries or any really, subpar performances, this team was pretty well set. I mean, in most cases, maybe a couple of last bench spots, maybe a couple of spots on the bullpen. But I think, the new guys, Gregerson has only pitched once, but did well. I think Bud Norris, it looks like he's going to be a guy that obviously, Cardinal fans know from his days in Houston when he kept killing the Cardinals. So you hope he's got a little bit left now that he's on this side.
Yeah, we're glad that he's on the team.
Leon, one of the pitchers that they got from Toronto, I think has had a nice camp so far. So I think, the additions, well, they may not have made the big splashy addition other than Marcell Ozuna. I think some of the other guys that they have brought in, I think, are going to have an impact on this club.
Yeah, I agree completely. Just the vibe of it. Everybody is, they're helping each other out, and spring training is you got to go in and perform, but at the same time, you're working out the kinks. You're sitting in the snow all off season, and you come down to Florida, and you're like, okay, now I got to hit 95 with Scherzer throwing today. So, but you work out those kinks, and I think we're going to really hit that momentum spot right going into the season.
I actually have a question for you. You kind of have to be not only calling the game, but sort of an enforcer back there at the plate. We all have seen Yachty brush up with a few players, Brandon Phillips, maybe protecting the Cardinal brand, if you will. Have you had, yeah, who started? Well, do you have any stories of maybe dusting up with a player, or, hey, maybe it was a hard slide at second and he comes up to bat the next time. Do you say something to them, or do you have any stories like that?
Well, I remember we had an incident a little bit last year, and Yachty pulled me aside. He goes, no matter what, the first thing you do is you protect your guys. No matter what, you protect your teammates. Doesn't matter if you don't like them or not. You got to protect your guys.
So you think we can tell whether you like a guy or not by whether you're out
there? We're good actors. But you always protect your guys, no matter what happens. If they hit you, if we hit them, no matter what happens, you always protect your guys.
What was that Buster Posey one last year when
when he stopped?
He stopped and didn't go out to protect his pitcher.
I don't want to comment on that.
Yeah, the catcher for two. I have a question right here, actually. Where are you from?
Hi, I'm Rita. I'm from South St. Louis County, and I've got a question not related to the team, but I'd like to know. We all know Busch Stadium is a jewel when it comes to ballparks. So I'd like to know, what is your second favorite stadium to play in, and what's your least favorite stadium to play in? And we won't tell anybody.
So well, Busch is first, obviously. Can it be second too? Second would be, that's tough. Every ballpark's like a cathedral. You're like, oh my gosh.
Were you on the Cardinals when they went to Fenway though?
Yeah, Fenway was
first trip to Fenway.
Fenway was really, really cool. Those ballparks with a lot of history, and you go sit in the Ted Williams seat, way out there, you hit a ball that far? I can't believe that. But so that, and then, it's got to be Wrigley for the worst, right?
Stupid Ivy.
Yeah, who puts Ivy on the wall anyway?
Here we go. Where are you from? What's your question?
I'm from Chicago.
As long as you're a White Sox fan.
No, I'm from North Carolina, and I thought that was funny. That's all.
That's good. You got it, man. That's perfect.
I know Carson's time is precious, so we're gonna take a couple more questions from the crowd. Anybody over here? All right, we'll go back. There you go.
I'm Larry from St. Louis. How much do the Cardinals subscribe to the sabermetrics, the stats? And if they do, how does that affect your pitch calling and your play day to day?
Well, I mean, with the sabermetrics thing, it's a newer resource that we can use. So, I mean, we've only been using it the last couple of years, and I think this year we're going to put a little bit more emphasis on it with Mike Maddox. I think he does like that a little bit. So we're gonna dive into that a little bit more. We've always kind of been about just what we see. If guys swing in a certain way, we'll pitch that way. Just visual stuff. But I think the sabermetrics is really gonna help us.
Okay, we do want to get
I got one more question.
Go ahead.
Open it up, Mike. You mentioned Mike Maddox, and we should talk about, one of the questions was who's impressed us the most in this spring. There are some new coaches on this staff. Mike Maddox, the only one new to the organization, but what have you seen so far that's caught your eye about how he's gone about his job?
Mike's been great. I mean, he's always prepared. He's always willing to answer questions that we have, and he keeps it light as well. He's always giving us a bunch of crap about stuff. I accidentally threw a ball down the line one time against the Twins, and I had a hit. I also got a hit that way too. So I'm like, he's like, man, did you have 2 line drives today? I go, yeah, I did. I hit the ball hard in a gap, and then I hit it down the line. He goes, no, the one you threw down there too, right? So I mean, he keeps it light. He keeps it light, keeps it fun, but he's always prepared, well informed, and he's always going to help us out. So.
And I think the 2 guys that everybody in St. Louis and Cardinal fans everywhere are happy to see back with the big league club, Jose Oquendo and Willie McGee.
Oh yeah. Secret weapon.
Those guys are great. I mean, Cheo is. I mean, as you guys can probably see, we've been doing a lot of base running. I mean, we've been stealing bases and we're aggressive. And I mean, having Cheo back, we call him Cheo. Having Oquendo back, he's been a huge help for us, and with base running and defense and positioning and just the little details that nobody sees. And then Willie really helping out with our outfielders. He's been awesome. He's out there. He's helping us with our base running as well. So we're going to be really, really good base runners coming into this season.
What should the over and under be on your stolen base total for the season?
I got 1 already. Usually I get about 1 a year, so maybe we'll get like 2 or 3. We're going to shoot high, right?
Well, thank you so much for being open to these questions. I mean, let's give it a round of applause. What a crowd with the new layout. I mean,